listeners and viewers of the NDC Heartbeat podcast. We're happy to have all of you on today who are listening on radio via VFM, Vibes FM, Spice Capital Radio, and now Talk Grenada at 90.1. We also want to welcome all those of you who are on the NDC Facebook Live. We ask you all the time to keep on sharing the program, keep on sharing the podcast to your friends, relatives, family, etc. Well, for today's program, what we are going to do is to have a conversation with the Minister for Education. As you know, schools will be opening next week. But before we get into his interview, we will be chatting with the NDC New York Chapter Chairman, Mr. Bernard Bourne, also the Florida NDC Chapter Chairman, Mr. Leslie McQueen. And out of Canada, we have Mr. Garner Liverpool McLeod, who is the interim chair for the NDC support group in Canada. We'll be chatting with him with respect to upcoming elections of that branch in Canada. So, all for now, let me just ask Brother Bourne out in New York to introduce himself. Then we go to Florida, then Canada. And of course, we would have the Honorable Minister after these interviews. Good morning, gentlemen. Good of you to be on the Heartbeat today. Brother Bourne?
Good morning to you, Brother Terry, and the producers of the Heartbeat program. Good morning to my colleagues in Florida and in Canada, and to listeners both on radio and Facebook Live and YouTube. Good morning to one and all. I'm happy to be here with you guys today. Thanks a lot.
Great. Thank you so very much indeed. And I know it's summertime, so it's so bright outside, it feels like morning, but we are on the afternoon segment. So out of Florida, we have Brother Leslie McQueen. Leslie, could you just give a quick intro?
Yes, Brother Terry. Good afternoon to you, Brother Terry, and I'm extremely happy to be here. And a pleasant good afternoon to all of your listeners, wherever they may be. We just recuperating from a very successful oil down fete last night.
Great.
It was well attended, and it was great. But I'm here. I'm ready to share as much information as possible with you and your listeners.
Fantastic. And we have Brother Garner McLeod. Just a quick intro before we go back to Brother Bernard Bourne out in New York.
I'm Garner Liverpool. I'm the interim chair of the Canada Support Group. Actually, NDC Support Group Canada. We are just organizing to include the whole country, and I'm just the interim chair, and I'm the chair of the elections steering committee. We have elections coming up on September 10th.
Great, fantastic. We'll get back to you shortly. But Brother Bourne, schools are reopening next week, and I understand that New York has participated with respect to raising funds and also purchasing school supplies for schools in Grenada. Tell us about it, and tell us which schools you are supporting in Grenada at this time.
Very good. Thank you so much. Well, the New York chapter, over the years, we have been involved through the summer months here in New York, helping to support families back home with school supplies. We are aware that in some cases, some students are forced to drop out of school for different reasons. Sometimes they don't have supplies, they don't have the bus fare to go to school. They have to help their parents work to put food on the table. So we are very aware of and very sensitive to the needs of some of our folks back home. And we have always had it in mind to do something to help these unfortunate kids. So this year is no exception. We have partnered with our colleagues in Florida to garner supplies and so on. Notebooks, several notebooks, pencils and pens, a few thousands, sharpeners, erasers, some glue sticks, some colored notebooks. And we have also sent 2 laptops. These are laptops that we send directly to the General Secretary. and an iPad, because these are needs that we have discovered that a few of the students at TAMCC would really require these supplies in order to support them in their studies. So we are very much aware of these needs, as I said, and we have done our best. These supplies have already been shipped from New York and from Florida. We still have some notebooks that we have collected in recent times, over probably over 300 notebooks that we are getting ready to ship again. So I hope that we have also worked very closely with the chairman of our Women's Arm, Sister Hillary Alexander in Grenada. So she would be basically the person, her team would be basically responsible for the distribution of these supplies, since we are not so intimately connected with the families that have the most needs on the ground. So Sister Hillary, the Women's Arm of our party, would be the main contact back home, together with the team that she has put together for the distribution of these supplies. So Great. I hope that kind of helped clarify the situation a little bit. Brother Leslie might have a few ideas to back up some of what I just said there. So again, thanks for listening. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so very much indeed. And Brother Leslie McQueen, he is the chapter chairman, NDC chapter chairman out of Florida. Leslie, you want to give us an update as to what Florida is doing to help our young students in Grenada?
Yes, Brother Terry. Thank you very much. Bernard actually set the scene for what I would have to say. Because we've done this together this year. In the past, we have been doing our bit here in Florida. As you know, we are just celebrating our first anniversary as a chapter, and it's going to be a huge, massive event on the 14th of October. So we have done, since we've started, we've been sending down items to help kids in Grenada. At Christmas time, we do toys, and we have just shipped a large quantity of back-to-school items. It was shipped in the name of the Women's Arm, and we're hoping that the items would be distributed throughout the country. We would hope that most of the needy kids, or the more needy kids, would benefit most from our efforts. But in terms of the items we've shipped, are a large quantity of backpacks. We've also shipped a very large quantity of pencils and pens and crayons and so forth, and calculators. We also shipped a few hundred scientific calculators. And we are excited to do that. And I also want to thank our members, the members of our chapter that put themselves out, that make the sacrifice to donate either cash or items to be shipped. And you wouldn't believe, Terry, that the interest and enthusiasm is so high that persons who are non-Grenadians, they have been coming forward and making contribution. And to me, that's very heartwarming. And I think it all goes well for our contribution towards the kids in Grenada in particular. So that's it for now, Terry.
Terry, I had a couple of points I need to add, if you don't mind.
Sure, please, yes.
Yes, well, I need to also mention the fact that here in New York, our women's group, the New York chapter's women group, was responsible for spearheading this project on behalf of the New York chapter. So we are extremely grateful to our sisters of the New York chapter women's group who have stepped forward, especially Sister Vivian James, Bernadette Lyons, and Sister Denise Roberts, together with the vice chair of the chapter, Sister Sherry Charlton. These sisters have come together and rallied the troops. We want to express our gratitude to chapter members who have contributed, and to the general public who have also contributed to this drive for supplying needy supplies for schools, kids back home. I also want to take this opportunity to mention that because we are moving towards the end of the year, like our colleagues in Florida, we have always put together another drive to make sure that we have books and toys and so on for kids back home. So this year is going to be no different. We are actually going to be launching this project officially when we meet this coming Friday at our regular chapter meeting. So I just want to alert the chapter members, the general community, that look out, the New York chapter is going to be knocking on your doors. We are going to be coming around, soliciting your support once more to support our families back home who really need our help more than ever. So please join us whenever we knock on your door and whenever we ask for your support. So lean forward, dip into your pockets, and come forward and support our projects, because these projects are really for the benefit of our families and friends back home, the Grenadian people who really need the support from us here in the diaspora. So I just want to mention that. Thank you.
Fantastic indeed. Well, of course, we all know of the great importance which the Prime Minister and his government puts on education in Grenada. And for a country to grow, we must have an educated society. So I want to extend, on behalf of the party and indeed on behalf of the government, our profound thanks and appreciation to all those of you out there who have already made contributions and continue to make contributions towards the upliftment of education supplies to schools and students in Grenada. I also want to take this opportunity to reach out and hail out the Bain sisters out in St. David's. As a matter of fact, I was part of a small delegation led by Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell when they delivered to schools in the St. David area a large quantity of school supplies. And let me just take a moment off to just read a press release issued by the GIS just this week. And it reads, last Wednesday at the Windsor Forest Pre-Primary School, we had the honor of attending a special ceremony hosted by the incredible Bain sisters who grew up in the village of Doha, St. David. As part of their Building Strong Communities, that's their theme, they generously provided school supplies to the St. Dominic RC School, St. Teresa RC School, and the Windsor Forest Pre-Primary School. The act of kindness extended further as they supported 6 families with Flow Jump program by covering the internet expenses. And I just want to take a moment off to say that the government's recent subsidy for students in need for internet services via Flow, which is called the Jump program, is costing $20 a month to support a student or student's family to access the internet. And this I would like to promote in the diaspora, that individuals can choose a school or students and support them by having access to the internet, which is so integral today in education. So our thanks to the Bain sisters out in St. David for coming out and providing this great assistance to these schools out in St. David. Let me also mention that the initiative under the Diaspora Affairs Office is to encourage Grenadians out there to adopt a school. We have many schools in Grenada, and later on, the Minister of Education might be able to update us as to how many schools exist on his database in Grenada. At least every school in Grenada should have someone adopt. And by adopting a school, you are saying to the school, you're willing to go out there and find resources to purchase school supplies and to assist the school in just about every area of its needs. You also have, for example, breakfast programs for students in need. As that can be an initiative that individuals out in the diaspora can assist. It requires a lot of coordination, so you'll be hearing much more about that from the Office of the Diaspora. But as for now, get ready, get ready, get ready. Our initiative is to have at least one Grenadian lift their hands and say, yes, I will adopt this school or I will adopt that school, and you co-opt other supportive Grenadians and friends of Grenada to look after that school in a meaningful way. So thank you guys so very much for your assistance out there. I know New York and Florida have been working hard over the years in doing just that. But we want to now expand the program a bit. So let me take this opportunity to head over to Brother Garner, Liverpool, out in Canada. He is the chairperson of the NDC support group there, and they're having the upcoming election. But before I go on to Brother Garner, let me just find out if the Honorable David Andrew has been able to join us as yet. He's the Minister of Education. Minister Andrew, are you there as yet? Maybe not. He will be joining us shortly. So let me move over to Brother Garner, Liverpool. Good afternoon to you, Brother Garner. And how is Canada doing this afternoon?
Good afternoon. Well, we got a tropical 30-degree day in Toronto, so we're doing good.
Fantastic, fantastic. Well, I see that you have had the awesome responsibility of the interim chair of the NDC support group in Canada, and you have an upcoming general election of the group. Tell us about it, how it's going, what's the progress like?
Well, again, part of my mandate right now is recruiting new members. We know there are people out there, people who love Grenada and are affiliated to the NDC, and we basically inviting everybody to join the group, especially now that we have an NDC government in place, that our efforts, we know, just like in Florida and New York, could go a lot further. Some of those roadblocks are down that would have, restrict us from being able to contribute as much as we'd like to. We had the Prime Minister here in a gala on July 1st, and he's invited everybody to get involved, whatever means, materials, financially, expertise, and we're going to recruit members in the diaspora in Canada to do just that.
Fantastic indeed. Yeah, I mean, Canada is huge, and there are thousands and thousands of Grenadians out there. It is really my objective for up to the end of December to really get Grenadians to commit to adopting a school. So I would like to ask you in your drive, while you are, proceeding on that drive, that you make mention to Grenadians out in Canada. Please commit to adopting a school and to meeting its needs in a reasonable manner. School supplies, little gadgets here and there and so forth, laptops, calculators, etc., etc. And when you plan on visiting Grenada, dedicate a day or a couple hours to help refurbish the school. You might want to paint a classroom or something of that sort. We need to get excited about developing to help grow and develop our education system in Grenada. So tell me, how do you plan to go about your election process in Canada with the support group?
Well, we're taking the lead of New York and Florida, and the goal and the aim is to become a chapter. We doing it digitally online, like Florida and New York did as well. We've been working with the GS, and so far we've had a number of nominees and candidates that put their names forward. And we basically in the process of recruiting, as many people as we could. And also membership is important. We really want to get our members in the diaspora to become full-fledged members by signing up. We do have a email, ndccanadagroup@gmail.com. And with that, if you live in Canada, you could actually sign up, we'll send you the forms. It's a digital form as well. You sign up, you pay your membership, and you have the right as a member to vote and to run as a candidate. So we're inviting everybody, and democracy is the foundation of a country, of a party, and we're hoping that as many people get involved, that the candidates come forward and help build not just a group but also a chapter and Grenada on a whole.
Fantastic. Well, you are riding on a very positive wave, which was shared by Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell when he visited Canada at the beginning of July. And he inspired so many Grenadians out there that I understand the level of excitement still exists in Canada among our Grenadian masses. So you have a major plus, a major wave that you're riding on. So I wish you success in your endeavors, your recruiting of new members, and the involvement of individuals in making themselves available for the various offices out there. It almost feels like a general election in Grenada.
Yeah, the excitement is, and the Prime Minister came with open arms, put out the invitation both at the town hall as well as at the gala, and I think Grenadians are responding. And again, part of it is capitalizing as the NDC group in Canada. We really want to take advantage of that, bring out people who haven't been involved for a number of years for different reasons, and really get them back into the NDC fold.
Well, I tell you, there is a new passion and there is a new enthusiasm, not just in Canada, but also in Grenada with this new NDC administration. And Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell has been inspiring the nation, inspiring the support groups, the support base of the NDC. And there is a lot of excitement and expectation for the success of this new NDC government. So let us continue in this light and let us make sure that it comes to reality. I mean, I have never seen more excitement about Grenada among Grenadians abroad and locally for a very long time. Everyone is very passionate, very excited, and we feel encouraged to continue working for the success of this party and government. So any further words you'd like to share, Brother Liverpool, or MacLeod, as you're better known in Grenada?
In Grenada, yes. Again, we asking everybody in the diaspora, and again, it's been a Toronto-based group, but with technology, we're able to reach out and really hoping to help people in other communities, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, out east, Montreal, Quebec, to really build a community. Part of what we do as a central body, as an executive, we will be able to help them in the logistics and the networking that it takes. That, sometimes you might not have a big group, or you don't have a treasurer, you don't have something in a smaller community. But we're hoping that we'll work almost like the federal government and be able to help and develop those groups, whether we're doing drives, that we can do it across Canada other than just the GTA.
Great, fantastic. Well, you are inspired, you have the energy, you have the support, you have the capacity. All you need to do now is go out there and make it happen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mitchell has really given you the impetus to get going. So pick up the ball and run with it.
Yeah, so we're just asking all Grenadians in Canada to, come on, join the NDC, sign up, come get in touch with us. We have a Facebook page. You could reach out that way. As I said, the NDC Canada Group @gmail.com. We'll send you the forms. And, we have a little package we do with the history of the NDC party and the information you'll get. So at least you familiarize yourself with the party and the struggles we've been through to get to where we are today. And that, hopefully you could help us build and continue on.
Great, fantastic. And don't forget, for those whom you come in contact with, to also ask them if they would like to support or to adopt a school in Grenada and which school they would like to adopt, so that we start building a database of individuals who are going to undertake this initiative in supporting our schools. This is an ongoing annual initiative which the Office of Diaspora Affairs is now encouraging Grenadians out there to get involved. So let me piggyback on your initiative, and if you can probably add that into your scope of works as you engage Grenadians out in Canada. Thank you very much indeed. Don't go away. We'll be back with you in a while. Right now, I want to go back to New York and have a chat with Brother Bowen.
Very good, very good. Brother
Great.
Terry,
Mm-hmm.
before you get to your point, I just want to say this is the first opportunity I have had since you were appointed to this new position as Ambassador for Diaspora Affairs to congratulate you on that new appointment. And we are looking forward here in New York to really working with the Diaspora Office and yourselves, and you in particular going forward. I hope that we can materialize maybe a visit from you in the very near future, so that we can plan and make sure we get the best from the Grenadian diaspora community, where Grenada is concerned, where Grenada transformation program and development is concerned.
Well, thank you very much indeed, Brother Bourne. And let me just take this opportunity to mention that one area which the government has identified as being critical for the development of Grenada is skills training. So you'll be hearing from me with respect to skills training and the need for Grenadians out there who are qualified or who know of individuals whom can be tutors, lecturers, etc., to provide that kind of skills training to young Grenadians and not so young Grenadians. We need to develop our skills training capacity in Grenada. It was very shameful a few years ago when the Silver Sands Hotel was being built, is that carpenters of high quality status were imported. And the government has made it very clear up to recently at the sitting of the Senate and the Parliament that skills training is so critical in Grenada at this point in time that it has now become one of the government's main priority areas that they're going to be focusing on. So we're inviting Grenadians out there who would like to participate in this initiative. And this is for New York, Florida, Canada, the UK, Grenadians, no matter where you are. You have contacts, you know of Grenadians, you know of non-Grenadians who have skills and they'll be willing to impart their knowledge. This is what we're going to be, that's going to be the next drive to try to develop skills training throughout Grenada in plumbing, carpentry, marine services, you name it, it goes on and on. We got to get that going. So, Brother McQueen out of Florida, what do you say with respect to this initiative?
Well, yes, Terry, I think that's an excellent idea. I think the government is definitely heading in the right direction. As you said, I mean, we have to have the skills set to develop the country. And the best way to have that is by training your own people instead of importing that particular different types of skills. But Terry, I want to just pivot to another event that we're having, and it's important that I mention our annual gala on the 14th of October. It's going to be a major event. The planning is in advance, in an advanced stage. It's going to be held at the Floridian Ballroom, which is one of the very luxurious places here in South Florida. Our special guest would be the Honorable Deacon Mitchell. We are excited to have him to be part of that gala. The interest in the gala is tremendous. Our members are all pumped up. In fact, we have prepared a raffle that will be drawn on that day, the 14th. The tickets are $5, $10 for a book of 5 tickets. And the prices are huge. In fact, the first prize is two airline tickets on American Airlines to Grenada. And we also have a cruise to the Bahamas. So could you imagine? And of course, we have several other prizes, hotel stays and so forth. And that raffle has been supported by the business community, both here in Florida and in Grenada. So we want to thank them for that. The raffle tickets are going very, very fast. The books are flying off the shelves. And we're asking for persons to, just continue to support us in whatever way we can, because whatever we are doing is for the benefit of Grenada. We've done it in the past, and we will continue to raise funds to support different programs and projects in Grenada. So the raffle, as I said, these the books are out. In terms of the gala itself, the price of admission is only $200, and tickets are available from any member of the chapter, as well as on the Go to Fed website, gotofed.com. So, Terry, I will appreciate if you can continue to help us, spread the word so that as many people as possible would be aware of it. We are also producing an anniversary magazine, and that is in the works. We're hoping to have messages from, of course, yourself as the diaspora ambassador and the Prime Minister, and so that is going very well and so forth. So, Terry, all in all, I'm hoping that at some point we can continue to promote our gala, and as well as what we're doing here in general. Thanks again for the opportunity given today.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Leslie. And just to remind those in Florida and elsewhere that the Florida Gala is on the 14th of October. And come on out, be part of it. It's a fundraiser exercise for the National Democratic Congress Party in building out a very important institution in Grenada here. So come on out and support. And for those of you out in the UK, there will be another fundraiser on the 4th of November. So UK folks coming out and give support to that initiative. But at this time, let me just inquire whether if Minister, the Honorable David Andrew, is on Zoom as yet. Minister, are you there? Minister Andrew.
Yes, I am, Terry. Thank you very much. I hope you're hearing me.
Great. Yes, indeed. I'm hearing you. Let me just welcome you to the Heartbeat. And I would say to my guests, please stay on because I don't know how long Minister may be able to stay with us. He's extremely busy, as you would appreciate. But we wanted to talk about school reopening. And let me give you the opportunity to just update us on how things are progressing with respect to the reopening of schools after a mega carnival season.
Right. Well, good afternoon, Terry. Thank you very much for having me, and good afternoon to your guest on the program who have presented before me. Thank you all very much for presenting, and it's my pleasure to bring some updates. I'm trying to make some adjustments. As you'll see, I'm not at my prescribed location, and so I'm trying to make some alternative arrangement just to be able to fulfill the commitment to bring some updates to the nation and to all of the viewers and followers of this production. So I'm happy to report that plans are well on stream for the reopening of school. We had our team review meeting a couple of weeks ago, and all schools are earmarked for reopening. There are a few schools with some minor repairs that should have been completed somewhere around this weekend, only a few. And even then, there were mitigation strategies and plans for any eventuality. So I am quite confident that all schools will be reopened on Monday, God's willing. And we are not likely to have any significant challenge with schools being reopened. So that's a plus. And we're quite happy about that.
Wonderful indeed. We are getting a little bit of background sounds. I don't know if you can do anything about it, but if you can't, we understand that you are not in your usual location and you may not have control over everything.
Yes, actually, I'm still at church. Today's youth program at church, and my children are involved in the program. So they're very much involved in the program, and so music is playing in the background, and so it's a little tough.
We'll take the blessings. Once in church, we'll take the blessings.
Yes.
Absolutely, sure indeed. So tell us, Minister, after a hectic program of activities with respect to education, because I listened to you in the Senate, and the number of initiatives which you shared is just really mind-boggling. Tell us about some of these initiatives. Remind us about all of the activities that Ministry of Education have been engaged in, and how can we contribute more towards helping the Ministry of Education and our schools. Certainly, you have heard of the initiatives of our chapter support groups out in New York, Florida, Canada, even the UK and elsewhere. What else can we do to help support our schools in Grenada? And really, how many schools do we have in Grenada? I've always wanted to get that number.
Right. So there are about 57 or so public primary schools, and those are the ones government sponsored, and about 23 secondary schools, public. There are one or two private institutions, which I don't have the exact figures for you, but there are a couple of private schools, private institutions, but public, those are the figures thereabout. And there are a number of preschools as well. So in total, we have well over 100 schools in total being cared for by the Ministry of Education, from the pre-primary, primary level up to secondary. But Terry, before I share with you some of the initiatives and things we can expect for 2023, the September term, Michaelmas term 2023, I just want to go back a little bit to talk about some of the things that have happened, because sometimes we take them in a vacuum. This government is deliberate and intentional in creating the kind of atmosphere that will see education transform. Now, we are clear in our head that we cannot, for instance, have a very adversarial climate if we want education to really move forward. So I think things like the paying of the doc salary, we just take them as a simple and simplistic act of just repaying salaries because we might say it was wrong to have taken it, or we might say it was inappropriate, or it hurt teachers a lot. We can find any number of reasons. But I want to make it clear that that was a deliberate act, because we understand that if we are going to move education, we can't have the key stakeholders and players in education. We can't hold them in their throats, and we can't entertain adversarial climates over lengthy periods of time. And I'm not saying that we are always going to agree, but when we can, we try to make sure everything is in place to have as smooth a climate as possible. And so paying back the doc salaries was part of that on the part of the government. Then even the pensions and all of that, they were part of that approach, and the value that we place on education, and not just education, but public officers too. And then I want us to remember that for the first time, well, we moved the fees, the games fee, the lab fee, the security fees that students were supposed to pay termly at secondary school and at primary school. That was done in our very first year in office, because we are on a journey to make education free, to make education more accessible. And we are not trying to do everything all at once, because we are making incremental steps. And we want to make sure we have economic and macroeconomic support to withstand the steps that we take. So we are doing so responsibly. So in the very first year, we removed those fees from the primary and the secondary schools. And that's significant, because at the secondary level, that was $75 a term, that the parent no longer had to $75 a year, $25 a term, and at the lower level, as much as $45. And that was removed at the primary level. But not only that, because we gave the schools the subvention to make sure that there was no loss from that revenue that was not taken. And all of that in an effort to ensure that the right atmosphere existed at the school level to have the outputs that we wanted. Then at the pre-primary level, for the first time in history, we introduced a subvention for the preschools, and that was significant because it underscores the importance that we attach at the Ministry of Education to preschool education. We believe that if we put the right degree of emphasis and technical expertise at that level and the right degree of support, we can eliminate most of the challenges and the problems that we try to grapple with later down in the education system. So all the things about lack of literacy and numeracy that we grapple with, and we wonder about students entering secondary school that can't read well, if we put the right supports down there, we would eliminate more of those problems. And in fact, that's why we chose to add the subvention there at the unattached preschools, and a lot of effort is continuously being placed at that level. Even at the ministry, there's a strategic undertaking now to strategize what ensures that every child that comes through that level must read, must be literate, must have the underpinnings for literacy and numeracy. And you'll hear more about that when that comes. But I'm saying all of this to say that even those past actions that probably nobody talks about, they are all things that underpin the importance that we attach to education and our deliberate intent to set education on a platform where indeed it can be transformed. So that's that for the previous year. Mm-hmm. Now, this year, and coming to several of the things that I spoke of at the Senate, one of the huge things that we are talking about is the introduction. Well, there are a couple of curricular changes that are being made in our school system. And the two that we are happy to announce at this point is the introduction of Grenadian history in schools. I did make reference to that. And come September, next week, tomorrow, God's willing, we anticipate that Grenadian history will be introduced in our lower secondary, upper primary schools, right? All of the work was done. We've had a book produced, written by our own local Dr. Nicole Philip Dow, and we are happy to have collaborated with her to see a beautiful document presented that's very interactive, it's very insightful, and it has activities that gets a lot of young people to think and see history in a very different light. And so we are very delighted that that is happening. We have had teachers trained during the Summer Institute, which refers, I'm sorry if you're getting some background noise, but there's more music in the background.
That's all right. Once it's from the church, we're fine with it. We'll take the blessing.
Yes, and so we've had teachers trained, and in the use of the book, the curriculum, that has been approved by our history and social sciences curriculum officers. And so we are very, very delighted to have partnered with Dr. Dow to see that book really produced. And we think it comes at a good time as Grenada prepares to celebrate 50 years of independence. So it ties in very, very well. And we hope that in doing that, more of our Grenadian citizenry and our students in particular will understand what it means to be Grenadian, will understand the journey that we have had as a people, and it will be documented, and they'll have a greater interest in it. So that is happening come September, and there's an official launch plan for in the week coming that I think is the 5th. So I'm very excited to report that. Also, by way of adjustment to the curriculum, we would have the introduction of, well, the reintroduction of Spanish to some selected primary schools, about 10 or so of those schools, where we have gotten secondary school teachers and teachers in the system, and in some cases volunteers, to work to see that Spanish being brought back into primary level. We know that the brain is better wired to acquire language at an earlier age, and so we are convinced that if we introduce a second language, or a third even, if we have the opportunity later down the road, to the earlier levels, the primary school students, there is likelihood that they would uptake it a lot better, a lot faster than waiting till they're 12 and 13 at the secondary level to introduce it. Grenada is a destination that depends a lot on tourism. And it's very fitting that our education system emphasizes a second language so that we can capitalize more on the tourism product and exploit better the tourism product that we have and give them a quality service. So that's happening too at the secondary level by way of the curricular adjustments. I'm happy to report too that even as we prepare for school, at this term, we are reporting the removal of tuition fees for students going on to TAMCC and to NULO. Now, I want to make it clear, it's only tuition fees, because sometimes there's confusion as to whether it's completely free. We are moving in a direction to have free education, but we're taking it step by step. And this is yet another step in that direction. So the tuition fee of $810 that students going to TAMCC would have had to pay, they no longer have to pay it because the government will absorb that cost. And we are very, very happy to do that. And this is also applicable to persons pursuing programs at NULO. Eventually, there's going to be more work done, and in time, we move closer to completely free education because we believe that that's important. I mean, for me, that is very significant because when you go across the Grenadian landscape, there are several families and several young people who have been robbed of the opportunity to access higher education simply because they have not had the access. They've not been able to acquire the funds to be able to go on to improve their education. And so we are very happy about that, to apply it to TAMCC and to NULO. The hope here is that several of our young people who ordinarily would not have had the opportunity to go on to TAMCC or to go on to further their studies will get the opportunity to do so. And that will help in bridging the skills gap that we now face across our nation, where several of our young people do not have appropriate skills. So that is part of the skill strategy. We want more young people to be skilled, and rest assured, there are other parts of the skills strategy and the skills plan that we have that would see us collaborating with institutions like NULO to offer the NTA, even ANTAM-CC to offer more work-related skills. I mean, we've even had signings with TAM-CC to offer some courses that respond particularly to the creative industry and needs that come out of the Unleash creative symposium that we've had a couple of months ago. So there's a lot of good things happening there, and we hope that that will translate to more skilled individuals, less persons moving around without having a proper skilling. And that's all part of the plan. So I'm very happy to announce that.
This is all fantastic indeed. I'm very excited about the skills training initiative, which is in its embryonic stage, but it is growing legs.
Yes.
And excitement and the encouragement is really terrific. And of course, the diaspora is willing to support the government in this initiative. So press on with it. Tell us a little bit, Minister, with respect to the government's recent negotiations with Flow in bringing to students this internet service for only $20 a month under the banner of the name Jump. This, I think, is tremendous. Tell us more about this.
Right. So this is not a program that falls directly under my ministry, so I probably don't want to comment too much of the technical stuff in it, but I am aware and I am involved in it as a member of cabinet. And so it's a beautiful initiative that the government has embarked upon, collaborating with Flow as a service provider to be able to make internet services available to families that do not have them, particularly families with students in them, because we are big in education. Our plan is to ensure that we have wider access to online resources, the e-resources that would allow persons to access quality educational resource material. And so access is important. And so this collaboration will see more of those families that did not have. So we went into our various communities and got names of households and families with students in them, children in them, that did not have internet connectivity. And we've been able to collaborate, and these names are being processed, and all the necessaries that will need to happen to see those homes connected to the internet. And there is a $20 per month fee. I mean, that's a steal of a deal. I think the family is going to be provided with a laptop as well. And just to make sure that the students and the children in that family have great access to online services, internet, and the ability to get connected for educational purposes. So we are thrilled to be a part of that and to promote that. I can't tell you the exact stage it's at the moment, but I know the names have been collected and they've been submitted to social development, the ministry that anchors it. And you would hear more of that as soon as they are ready to give further updates to the public.
Now, while the initiative is to target homes with students, is it also available to homes without students who are in need of internet connection?
But I think in the first instance, the primary target was these homes with students in it. I see no reason why it wouldn't be expanded to include others, but strategically wanting to impact students and the generation that uses this a lot more, and for whom this modality adds to the educational uptake and acquisition. I think it was strategically prudent to target those groupings first, and we have done that. But I don't think it would be limited to them only, as long as there are slots and spaces available within the program.
Great. So the message is out now. So hope families would take advantage of this wonderful initiative, which is now subsidized by the government of Grenada. And thanks to Flow for collaborating with the government in bringing this service to the people of Grenada. Tell us, Minister, about the QR code or the voucher. How is that interesting?
Great. So thank you very much for that opportunity, because I know this year we do have the uniform and school supplies support. Some people call it a voucher, but this year we are no longer giving a literal physical voucher. We are giving an electronic voucher in the form of readable codes called QR codes. So all the information is taken. But let me put it this way. The way to get in on this program is through the schools. So since in June, before the ending of the school term, the Ministry of Education sent correspondences to the schools, circulars to the schools, notifying them that this was going to be the medium through which it's going to happen. The schools are aware of their students. They know where the students live. They have, so it's a first verification gap, medium post that we use to have the schools make the recommendation, fill the forms, and send them into the Ministry of Education.
Right.
So that was done since in June. We got good collaboration from several schools. I can't give you all the details, but we got over close to 2,000 different families and applicants to the school uniform and school supplies assistance program. And the information was put in. It had to be verified a couple of times because this year we are using the QR codes. So we're no longer going to the printing. And the QR codes get sent to the phone numbers of the persons who made the applications. And then they're free to go to shop with vendors who are part of the program and who have been outfitted with particular terminals and machines that the machine readable codes can be synchronized with to facilitate the payments. All of the back end work that has to take place with the Accountant General's office and audit, all of those have been fixed and finalized. Now we are aware that there may be challenges because it's not, it's a learning curve in many ways for us too. It's the first time we are doing it. So we are learning as we are going, but we are confident that it is the way to go, given that we are moving in a technological era. And the format is so beautiful that whether you have internet or not, you can access the codes. So it's not a question that if you don't have internet, you can't access it. You don't have internet, you can access it. You're not in a place where you have Wi-Fi, you could access it. You can take a picture of it. All of these are options that can be used to access the code. And so we think it's a good way to go. What we do want to tell people, sometimes I hear people quarreling that they used to be on the program, they were on the program and they were bumped off. It is nothing like that because nobody's bumped off. But the truth is, there is an application process through the schools that must be engaged in every year. And so last year we had quickly sent out an electronic form, which went amiss. And so it was sent on Facebook, it was sent all over the place. And we recognized that that modality certainly didn't do what the intention of the program was. And so we had to rethink quite quickly. And remember last year, when we got in June, we were in a rush to see that the continuation of service. And so we went out ahead quickly. But we are convinced that this is the modality to use. So we have to touch in base with the schools for future reference. For persons who would want to be on the program, we want to make sure you touch base with the schools and let the principal know, because that's the medium through which primarily you are going to be accepted to the program. We also link with agencies like social development, where there are special cases that are under the care of the state and custody of the state. And some of these candidates are also considered from sister ministries. That was done this year as well. So we've touched all our bases and ensured that that is being done. I've met some people who are quite happy with the new QR code system. Some persons reported they lost their phone, somebody stole their phone, and these are some of the challenges. But as long as somebody has replaced it, we have a desk at the ministry that has been responding and replying and correcting those challenges at the back end to ensure that, notwithstanding the glitches, people are able to benefit as we transform in that particular modality and ensure that people are benefiting with the QR codes. I'm satisfied that it's happening and it's happening well.
Well, I'm glad you have explained this aspect, because I've had reports of individuals indicating that they have no internet access and therefore they cannot access the code. So I'm happy to hear that with just a photo of the code, you can take it in to the store or shop and access your services.
Yes, that is true.
I'm really happy that the internet is not an impediment to you accessing the services like a voucher in obtaining school supplies and so forth. So that is great. Well, of course, the transformation agenda of becoming a paperless society, this probably is the beginning of things to come.
Yes. And in fact, I'm happy because part of government's announced policy is a reduction in printing. So there's a policy to not print more than 5 pages and eventually to move to a more paperless type government. In fact, at the cabinet level, there's no paper. And that's a policy that has been taken a while now, and we are happy to follow in that vein. But across ministries, we encourage it. And so last year, for instance, we spent thousands of dollars printing thousands of vouchers because you needed particular security marks on the paper, special kinds of paper. All of those features are very costly and environmentally dangerous too. So we are happy that we are able to do it this way and keep in line with the less printing, no printing, printing reduction policy position that we have adopted.
Well, certainly that savings can go into expanding the program to other individuals in society. But Minister, we're coming up to the close of the program, and I must ask you this question. I know you have responded to it already, but the allegations out there regarding LGBTQ, could you just reinforce your statement on that matter and put parents and students and teachers and guardians' mind at rest?
Right. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak to this again. I am happy to confidently say to the nation that the Ministry of Education and the government, we have no intention, no plan to change the curriculum, the health and family life education curriculum. The health and family life curriculum that is currently being used is the same that has been in use since probably 2014, 2009, whichever it was. And it's the CARICOM harmonized framework is the one that's used across CARICOM as a harmonized position. That is not changing. And so we assure you, there's no truth in the allegations that were being purported around. So you have my assurances of that. But I want to move further to say that I'm aware that there probably was some confusion surrounding a document which at the Senate I even showed, and it's an international technical guidance on sexuality education, which was first printed in 2009. And it's a document that was produced in collaboration with UNICEF, WHO, the World Health Organization, UN Women, UNFPA, a number of international agencies, all of which Grenada is signatory to. And that Grenada, in fact, signed on to that document, the technical guidance, since 2018, under the former government. In 2018, Grenada signed on to that. Now, by the way, when I look at the document, I want to say to us, it's an international technical guidance. Now, that means if it's international, there is an expectation, and in fact, the document clearly says. So it's not a curriculum, but it's a resource material for persons who may be doing any material in the area of sexuality. There's a reference that they can find material in. And there's an expectation in the document that it's going to have to be adapted to suit the culture and values of the society in which it's going to be used, because it's an international technical guidance. And on that very ground, it cannot just be taken lock, stock, and barrel and brought in anywhere. The same thing happens in several other areas of education. We have theories that are normed elsewhere, but when it comes to Grenada and the Caribbean, we adopt it because we understand not everything, if it wasn't normed here, where these peculiarities exist, then we can't take everything lock, stock, and barrel. And it's the same. So there's an expectation that it has to fit within the values and the culture of the society in which any bit of it that has to come to be used will be used. I want to point out that international guidance has an array of topics spanning complete sexuality, from puberty and adolescent development, menstruation, to contraception, to teen pregnancies, to sexually transmitted diseases. All of these things are there, but it also has gender. And I think that's where the controversy probably comes. So
Mhm.
persons feel once it has gender and it mentions LGBTQ or any part of sexual orientation, there's a challenge. But we are committed to the values of Grenadian society, and it's not a curriculum, it's not something enforced, it's not something that people have to use, and it's not something that is changing anything that's happening, and it was something that we signed on to since 2018. People were trained in it since 2019. There was a refresher in 2022. So there is nothing alarming, anything new. And Terry, I want to take the opportunity to, just appeal to our citizenry. We need to become serious about discussing matters in a frank and open way. For years, we've lived with aversion and fear to engage issues of sexuality. And for instance, we grew up in a generation where we had difficulties using the right names to talk about our genitalia.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't even want to say penis or vagina because it was foreign, it was taboo to say those things in church or in wider society. And that was a reflection of discomfort and inability to discuss matters of sexuality. But we needed to learn that there were age-appropriate ways to treat with matters of sexuality. And anytime we talk about human behavior, be it sexuality or mentality or any part of human behavior, we need to consider that there must be age appropriateness. And so even if sexuality has to be talked about, it must be age appropriate. As a practitioner in the area, we've talked about good touch, bad touch for decades with children in grade 1, grade 2, so that they become aware to avoid abuses.
Appropriate, inappropriate
touch and appropriate touch, and who has right and what does private part mean. All these are issues of sexuality that we have engaged for decades as educators. Now, in our dispensation, where the issues of lesbian and gay and bisexual and all of these things have become a part of the sexual landscape, it's important too that our school system allows, in fact, our education system at least makes our people aware so that they can make correct choices based on the values of our society. And it wouldn't be a shock or a surprise to them, because whether we like it or not, if we don't do that and guide them in making the correct values and making the right choices based on the values and culture of our people and our society, you're going to find the cartoons are going to tell them, which is not necessarily normed in our society. The movies, the films, the advertisements are all going to tell them, and it is everywhere, TikTok and everywhere else. So if we want to, I encourage us, let's be real and frank. We are the ones who are going to have to take responsibility for shaping the sexual landscape in our country. And it's not what's written anywhere else that going to do that.
Sorry, Minister, let me just cut you to ask the radio station, because we have run out of time. Let me just ask them if they can keep going for another minute or two to allow you to complete your points, and for me to also complete my other guests on there, just to say goodbye to them. So we have another minute to go, Minister.
Right. So I just want to ask every Grenadian to allay their fears. This Ministry of Education, we are responsible. We are a responsible government, and we are representing the interest of our Grenadian people. We are committed to the values of our Grenadian people, but at the same time, we want to make sure that through our education system, we create the right kind of values. For instance, we want to make sure that whether somebody agrees or disagrees with somebody's sexual choice, we understand the term tolerance. We understand that you can't be disrespectful or you can't kill somebody because you disagree with their position. And so these things come out of a proper conversation on sexuality. But rest assured, we are not changing anything. We are not introducing any such curriculum across the HFLE spectrum. And I'm happy to report that categorically to the entire nation. So Terry, I'll use my final words to say, let me wish every student preparing to start the new school term tomorrow, God's willing, all the best. For some of you, you're starting a new level, you're entering secondary or you're entering TAM-CC, and we wish you all the best. There is no limit, not even the sky. So don't create any. We wish you all the best. As a Ministry of Education, we will continue to do all that we can to create a platform where you can truly realize your full potential, and we'll continue doing that. Have a fantastic evening. And Terry, thank you for having me, and all our guests who continue to collaborate with us, and Leslie and Brother Bourne and all of the other persons in the diaspora who continue to partner with us to see us do what we need to do to transform our country through education. Thank you very much, and thanks to all our listeners for being a part of this. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Minister for Education, the Honorable David Andrew. And before you rush off, Minister, I'd like to publicly ask you for a list of all our schools, public and otherwise, in Grenada, because the Office of Diaspora Affairs will be challenging our diaspora to adopt a school to help make your life and the ministry and students much easier. So I look forward to that list in the very near future, Minister, as we work together to help bring stronger education levels to our students in Grenada. Let me also
not a problem. Thank you.
Great. Let me also thank our brother Bernard Bourne from the NDC New York chapter for his contribution, and brother Leslie McQueen out of the NDC chapter in Florida, and Mr. Garner Liverpool McLeod, who is the interim chair for the NDC support group in Canada. They're having an upcoming general election. And we want to thank you all for being part of the Heartbeat today. And join us again next week, Sunday, as we delve into other rather interesting subject matter.
Can I ask the minister a quick question on this,
sure.
on that initiative with the teaching Grenadian history at the school level? That material that is being published, is it possible that the public can also get copies of that book, so that, for example, there are thousands of Grenadians in the diaspora who may just want to get familiar with the history of Grenada, so that when they come to Grenada on vacation, they are not lost. They know what is happening. They know what to do. They understand our culture and history. So is it possible to make that book public so that people can purchase copies of it?
Oh, certainly. I think there's going to be an official launch, and I think the economic side of these things are always is always something that persons who put the effort into look forward to. So I don't think that'll be a challenge. I think coming out of the launch on Tuesday, God's willing, I anticipate that there is going to be, because it's not exclusively for school. I mean, we collaborated and schools were targeted, but I suppose anybody who wants it as a Grenadian certainly would be able to access it, but we'll make sure of that for sure. I'll have that conversation with the author and publishers, but I doubt that's likely to be a challenge.
Well, I'm sure if it's online, then individuals can source it and probably pay for it online. So thank you all so very much indeed. Been a pleasure having you all on today. And thank you indeed, Minister, and to all our friends out in the diaspora. Do have a great Sunday afternoon, and link up again next week, Sunday. Have a good one.
Good day, everyone.
Goodbye.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Goodbye.